Hey there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. I'm Josh Mansfield, a teacher with Demon, and with me is Nathan Fox, one of the founders of LSATdemon.com and the weekly podcast Thinking LSAT. Today, Nate, our emails from Sarah with the subject of the 160s brick wall.
Hey, Demon Team. I'm really starting to hit a wall when it comes to my LSAT studying. For reference, I had a diagnostic of 148 back in October and have been studying with the Demon ever since. I have adopted the accuracy over speed, understand what you read, and make predictions methodologies. This has worked great for getting myself into the low to mid 160s, but I'm starting to think any higher, and especially entering the 170 range, requires some deeper level thinking wrapped around some form of intuition that I simply do not have. Okay. I don't know why you think that. It's really just more of the same thing. You need to increase your accuracy a little bit more. And by doing so, you'll get faster and faster at answering the questions. You need to stop trying to go fast, though. Just only focus on accurately solving one question in front of you. You'll realize that the wrong answers are terrible. You'll realize that you don't even have to read through every word of every wrong answer to know that it's wrong. And so you'll get faster over time, but it's not a higher level, it's not a or deeper level or whatever wrapped around some intuition that you don't have. No, it's convoluted language that you need to take the time to unwrap.
Sarah, let's finish the email. There's one more sentence I want to talk about with that.
I'll finish it.
Okay.
Sarah says, I understand this can be learned, but I'm really starting to question myself in having the ability to do so. Most, if not all, the questions I miss are difficult, subtle, sneaky questions in which I would never see it until after reading or watching the explanations, to which I react in a, wow, that's tough. I would never have thought of that kind of way. I'm starting to feel discouraged, and any advice or suggestions would be greatly appreciated. Thank you again, Sarah. Before Josh makes his point, I want to make one point, which is this.
Okay.
It is not true that most, if not all, of the questions you miss are difficult, subtle, sneaky. That is false. You're not in the 170s yet. I mean, that's not even true if you're in the 170s. If that's true when you're at like 178.
Yep.
Okay. I promise you, Sarah, that half of your mistakes are coming from simply misreading things. And what's happening is you're misreading the passage, the question that they're asking you about the passage, the right answer you're failing to pick, the wrong answer you are picking. You could be misreading all four of those things at the same time sometimes. When you do that, then the questions start to look difficult and subtle and sneaky. But there just aren't that many difficult, subtle, sneaky questions on the test. That's not what's keeping you from getting to 165 or 168.
I had 2 points that I wanted to make.
Let's hear them.
The first is, and this goes back to the idea of misreading. It could be misreading, but it also could just be not stopping to think about the implications of what you've read. So I worked with a student just yesterday. There was a passage that talked about, and the sentence starts off with every adult male monkey. And I said, okay, what did you just read? And she said, well, every male monkey. Yeah. And I said, no, right? There's a qualifier. Every adult male monkey. Well, what kind of other monkeys would there be? There could be adolescent male monkeys. There could be adult female monkeys. There could be adolescent female monkeys, right? Those implications, guess what? The question focused on adolescent male monkeys, right? That's where the flaw existed.
Yeah, shocker.
Or it must be true, right? Yeah. And so just stopping, and it's not that you misread it, right? I think that's probably here. Sarah would not say, I misread that passage, right? I understood every adult male monkey. The words made sense on the paper. I read it. Or maybe she would skim over it and then miss the adult part. But Do you stop and say, if it's an adult monkey, what are the other types of
Yeah.
monkeys, right?
Thinking around the edges of what you've read,
Yes.
because you got to be on guard for the bullshit that they're almost guaranteed gonna present next,
Mm-hmm.
right? If I read a passage like that, if it started off in the first sentence with most adult male monkeys XYZ,
Mm-hmm.
I would immediately, before I read the next sentence, I would immediately go, okay, this applies to most, not all.
Mm-hmm.
So there could be 49% of the monkeys,
Yep.
even the adult male monkeys, there could be 49% of them to which this rule doesn't even apply.
Yep.
And if you don't catch, yeah, okay, I know what the word most means. Yeah, but did you think about what the word most means?
Mm-hmm.
Did you think about how that limits, or how I guess it kind of opens the door to multiple interpretations of what they're
Yep.
saying? It only applies to adults, not babies, not adolescents. It only applies to males, not females, not non-binary, whatever. Who knows what kinds of monkeys there could be. This applies to most adult, male. Oh, by the way, monkeys. So does it
Monkeys.
apply to orangutans?
Gorillas.
I don't know. Is
Yeah.
orangutan a
Yep.
monkey? I don't know.
Yep.
Is a human a monkey? I don't know. Like it applies to monkeys,
I
but
have questions. Yep.
who's on the edge of what's outside of that? Like, are
Mhm.
lemurs in the mix here, or what's going on? And but you do all that, it only really takes like 5 or 10 seconds.
Yes.
But now you have not only read it, but you've actually understood it by seeing what its limitations are.
That's not intuition. That's not a higher level of thinking.
No.
It's just more careful reading.
Yeah.
Right. And active thinking.
Yeah.
That's
critical,
an engaged, critical,
skeptical.
Yes.
Right. You
All
don't. I think
adverbs we
people
can
just
add.
like, they let these questions just lead them along this
Ugh.
path toward their conclusion. And it's like, it seems like it makes perfect sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but if you would have been on guard from the beginning, you might have caught the fact that, hey, if this rule only applies to adults and males, then later on, they better not be making any conclusions about adolescents or females.
Yep.
And it's kind of incredible, because this is where like speed emerges from accuracy, where you encountered it as a difficult, subtle, sneaky question. Meanwhile, we predicted exactly what they were going to do, like called bullshit on them before they ever even got to the bullshit part.
Mm-hmm. Yep. In my RC class, I have, in a couple of weeks, there were a couple weeks in a row, I read a sentence. I said, that sentence doesn't make sense. That doesn't belong here. It's about a different subject. It's not about the topic I was talking about. It's not related at all to anything I've just read. Why is this in here?
Exactly.
Oh, I'll tell you why. It's an RC question. Here's the question that they're going to ask. This is the answer to it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And guess what? To Nate, your point, I am faster at RC because I can do that. I did not get that way because I tried to work on being faster.
No.
I did it because I focused on being accurate and engaged and a good reader of the LSAT.
Yeah.
This leads me to my second point that I wanted to point out. Sarah, you have to focus more on the easy questions that you are missing or not fully understanding. If you're drilling and you do a level 2 question and you get it right, but you can't tell me why the right answer is right, fully understand why it's right, why that one answer that was tripping you up for a second was wrong, then you need to stop and review. Because the LSAT, we were just talking about this on Thinking LSAT, episode 515. The LSAT has a playbook that they're going to use again and again and again and again. And if you can learn to read that playbook by watching the level 1s, it becomes much easier to see at the level 5s. The example I always use in my class, if I were to say, studies show that people who own a bike have a lower incidence of heart disease. Therefore, the mere fact of owning a bike reduces your risk of heart disease. Most students stop and go, well, that's ludicrous, right? Owning a bike does not reduce, that's causation correlation. But then I pivot and I say, studies show that people who take this specific heart disease medication tend to have a lower incidence of heart disease. Therefore, this heart medication must be effectively reducing their risk of heart disease. It's the exact same flaw. It sounds a lot nicer. You're like, oh, heart medication. Yeah, okay, like I could see that. I don't know. It's the same causation correlation flaw. I replaced just the item that was there. And if you can learn to spot it and just see that first one effortlessly, when it becomes and sounds nicer, you're going to be just as skeptical and see the flaw just as quickly.
Yeah, point well taken. I think you can learn more from the easy questions than you can from the hard ones.
Mm-hmm.
And one mistake that people make is we incessantly get requests. Why can't I set my drilling difficulty at a minimum difficulty of 5? And I'm
Only
like,
do 5s. Yep.
Yeah, I would rather you not have any 5s at all. I would rather that you never miss level 1, 2, 3, or 4. That's a lot better than somebody who can get a bunch of level 5s right.
Yep.
The majority of questions on the test are not level 5s. Maybe it's 10% of the test that's level 5s. And you're always going to get the majority of your points from the easy ones. And to Josh's point, they're doing the same thing on the harder ones. They're just doing it in a bit more subtle of a way, or a bit more complicated kind of a way, but it really does boil down to the same thing. Mm-hmm. Did you understand what's there? Are they making an argument? Is it a good or bad argument? If it's a bad argument, why? Now, what are they asking you about that argument or lack thereof? And now, why is the right answer right and the 4 answers are wrong? And it's the same on a level 1 as it is on a level 5, but it's a lot easier, I think, to digest it on those lower level questions. So clean up your accuracy first, Sarah. You probably think to get into the 170s, you have to finish the sections, but you don't. You need to clean up all your mistakes.
Yeah. Master those low level ones, and you'll see that all of a sudden this intuition is something that you possess if you do all of them the right way. Also,
Sarah, I feel you. I mean, you say you're starting to feel discouraged, but you have already improved by double digits. You started at a 148. That's a great diagnostic. You have made it into the 160s. That's excellent.
Mm-hmm.
And if you make it to 168, that's a 20-point improvement. If you make it to 173, that's a 25-point improvement. And so you're actually killing it.
Yeah.
You should be, I think, grateful for the progress you've made so far. And then just remember that I promise you, it's not what you think it is. It's just not as difficult and subtle and sneaky as you think it is. You've got plenty of room to just get more of the easy ones right. And that'll be true until the day you're routinely scoring 176.
Anything else for Sarah?
Nope. We can wrap it up there.
Awesome. Thanks for writing in, Sarah. Email daily@lsatdemon.com if you'd like to ask us a question or share some LSAT or law school admissions news. Thanks for sharing.